Ask the Dean, episode 76. My name is Dr. Ryan Gray, one of four co-hosts with you. We're here every Wednesday at 1 p.m. Eastern. I'm joined by the marvelous Mapped team with Dr. Scott Wright. How are you doing, my friend?
Howdy, howdy. Doing well. Excited about all the good questions we're going to get today, and we'll respond to them. So this is one of my favorite times of the week.
It is one of my favorite times of the week, one of my favorite times of year. So thank you for being here. Dr. Scott Wright, former director of admissions at UT Southwestern, former retired, executive director at TMD SAS. Big man on campus, you are known as. Verinia Granum.
Hello.
Our newest Mapped member, former assistant dean in the Prehealth and STEM advising office at Hofstra University. Did you guys say it like that? We're like, we're Hofstra. We're like the Harvard of Long Island.
No, just Hofstra.
Oh, okay.
The pride.
The pride.
Yeah. So I feel like I need more titles after my name after that intro to Dr. Wright. I need a couple more. Fabulous Queen of the Universe.
Oh, I like that.
Done.
There you go.
Done.
There
that
you
is
go.
it.
Done. Queen of the
Rachel,
Universe.
make a banner. Quick. Queen of the Universe.
Queen of the Pre-Med Universe.
There you go.
Happy to be here with you all. My
That's
favorite
funny.
team.
Yes. I'm excited. And Mapped co-founder Rachel Grubbs, MCAT, test prep, and pre-med extraordinaire, my favorite word. How are we doing, my friend?
Good. I was busy writing a banner, so it
Oh,
took me
I
a second
saw
to
you.
find my own face. I was like, wait, somewhere we have a banner for my name, but hey, guys, I'm Rachel. There we go. Yeah, I'm great. Ask the Dean is definitely my favorite or one of my favorite parts of my week. It's always good.
Yep.
Yes. All right. If you're watching on Instagram Live, we are taking questions over at premed.tv or mapped.tv. Those YouTube comments come right into our live stream. We can pull them up and answer your questions. That's what we do here for the hour. We answer your questions. So go ask questions, or else it'll be a boring hour. Listening to Scott sing. You don't want to do that.
What?
I really thought you were going to belt there for a second.
I know, right?
I was like,
I
this
won't
is gonna
punish
be
you in that way.
intense.
All right. Let's jump in. Our first comment here. I volunteered as an EMT and have 250 hours, but quit to focus on my MCAT. As per your suggestion, I tried picking up fewer shifts instead of quitting, but the times don't work for me anymore. It's a very common problem that students have, especially around MCAT prep, is I don't have time. And the thing that I can cut out is the time that I'm doing getting clinical experience, getting shadowing, getting research. And there's this fear, maybe rightfully so, that you stop something cold turkey. What does that look like to an admissions officer? Scott Wright, what do you think?
Well, I think it's a valid concern on the part of the student. I think that admissions committees want to see your ability to multitask and to do a number of things at once, because you're going to have to do that in medical school. You can't, in med school, you can't just stop doing everything else because you've got an exam in something or, whatever. So that's the biggest concern. I don't think it's a huge concern. I think that, what they want to see is the clinical hours that show that you know what you're getting into, that and I think it really, what really that emphasizes is the need for substantial reflection on the clinical work that you do have, Carrie, and really working that reflective activity into your personal statement and into your activity descriptions, so that it's very clear that even though you had to quit to concentrate on the MCAT and maybe classes or whatever else you've got going on, that you really are thinking deeply about these interactions that you've had when you were able to do the EMT stuff. So I wouldn't worry about it like over the top, but I do think that best of all worlds, or the word I like to use is optimal, you would be able to pick up some shifts. And so I would keep plugging away at that. And, if you can pick up a shift every now and then, do it. If that's not possible, then just do what you can do. Obviously you need to do well on the MCAT, and that is a priority. So, the only thing you can do is what you can do.
Yeah. That's it.
All right. So for this next question, this actually got asked right at the end last week, and we didn't have time to give it, the justice that this question needed. So I did let it go, but the student has asked again, and I'm glad. So I want to put this up, and Ryan, I'll let you read it.
RM, hope everyone is well. Last week, the team suggested private practice for clinical experience. Senior partner attempted sexual harassment. I'm scared this will happen again. Suggestions.
Wow.
So, who wants to take this one?
I'll go first.
Okay. I thought so. Yeah.
Yeah. Thanks, Ryan.
You're welcome.
Yeah. I'm not an expert. I have some experience with this. So first of all, RM, I'm really, really sorry that happened to you. It is never okay, and it's in no way your fault. So you have to first and foremost do whatever you need to do to be safe and well, right? So if there are multiple senior partners, you might consider talking to another partner. If I were that person's partner, I would want to know, right? I would be horrified and grateful for the information. And I would say that that's like one possible path to take. And the reason I'm not saying you have to do that is your wellness is the most important thing. The benefit, if you feel brave enough and comfortable enough of telling either another senior partner or even just someone else at the firm that you think can help you advocate, is that if it happened to you, it probably happened to other people. Yep. Right. Yep. So if you can tell someone there, I think that's great. If you can't, if you just have to get out and walk away, then don't feel too much guilt about that. Just do what your safety comes first. Right. So that's kind of with this particular scenario. And then I don't want to sound cold, right? But I want to get back to the first part of your comment, which is we suggested private practice for clinical experience. This kind of thing shouldn't be happening anywhere. This kind of thing is not specific to private practice, right? So absolutely don't put yourself in any place where you aren't safe, right? That said, one really bad experience, and it was a really bad experience, doesn't change the fact that you need clinical experience. And if you have tried every hospital in the area, then yeah, you probably still do need to be checking local private practices, local nursing homes, other places where clinical experience is available in your area. There's no reason you have to do it there. There's no reason for you to stay and try to make that place better if you don't have the emotional bandwidth. And it may not even be possible. Typically people that perform harassment are serial users, right? So there's no need for you to do it there, but you're still going to have to find it. And I don't think being at a hospital makes you safe. And I don't think being at a private practice guarantees that you're not safe. It doesn't work like that. There are bad eggs and good eggs everywhere. I'm going to stop there because that was a lot of words, and see if the others want to chime in.
No, you're right on the money there.
I agree.
I'm so sorry that RM you had to deal with this, but as Rachel said, your safety is obviously the first priority. And if it means you have to leave that practice, find clinical experience elsewhere, then that's fine. It's a little scary, I imagine, talking to someone else in the practice. While I agree with you, Rachel, it's probably someone that they've gone through it too. And if you're not ready for that, you have to decide what you can kind of handle. But if it's not what you want to deal with, then it's okay to look somewhere else.
Mm-hmm. Agreed.
All right. Good for you for asking. It's hard to even bring that stuff up.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
All right.
Mohammed asks, are non-traditional paths becoming more common than traditional paths? Trads are finding it difficult to compete with non-trads, so more end up choosing non-trad paths. So I want to understand the data behind the statement trads are finding it difficult to compete with non-trads. What does that mean? With what? With hours, with GPA, with MCAT scores? It's a very broad statement that I think one of the things that we try to do here is remove these kind of hyperbolic statements that are thrown around Reddit and Student Doctor Network and everywhere else and go, that just doesn't make sense. That's not true. That's not based in data. So let's ignore the last part of the question and just ask the first part. Are non-traditional paths becoming more common than traditional paths? Scott, what do you think about that?
I don't think they're becoming more common than traditional pathways. I think they are becoming more common in general. 25, 30 years ago, you didn't see this many non-traditional students. But I think it's not as rare as it used to be. And so the consequence of that, I think, is that admissions committees are much more used to dealing with non-traditional students and kind of the difficulties that sometimes their applications present. And that's a good thing for non-traditional students. But I do not think that I think that the majority of applicants these days, and in my view, in the foreseeable future, will continue to be traditional students, traditional pathway students.
WMC's last study said average age of a matriculant was 24, and averages are real. Right. Those are deceptive numbers. The other day on Instagram, I said averages are meaningless. And someone was like, what does that mean? I'm like, I can't teach you a whole statistics course in an Instagram comment. I'm just going to not answer. Right.
Yeah.
But, it doesn't mean that 90% of the students are 2 years out of college. Right.
Right.
Means a whole bunch of people are 22 or 23 or 24. And then there are some people that are in their 30s and 40s and 50s and 60s. And
I would love to see a median number there instead of that.
Exactly. I would love to see a median.
Much more.
I'd love to see the bell curve.
Right.
But it's also an interesting semantics things, right? Because if there's enough people who are non-traditional, then why would we call it non-traditional anymore?
Yeah.
So there's we don't have to go into more word nerd stuff right now, but yeah, I think the list of prereqs got a little longer with the change to MCAT, right? Biochem, psych, soc became more important. There's been increasing pressure on getting clinical experience. So just the list of to-dos before you apply does seem, I wouldn't even say it's getting that much bigger. It's like people are more aware of how much of it matters, right? Like people are better informed. And I do think that there are some students that struggle to do that in 4 years and just take a fifth year. But like Scott said, I don't think that means so-called non-traditional has eclipsed traditional. I just think it's more well understood. It's more well known.
Yep. Can I ask a question from a pre-med parents group that caused a lot of debate? Someone asked a question, and this is a parent, and I won't give names or anything, but it said, my sophomore is interested in med school, but will not get to take organic chemistry this year. Wondering if taking it over the summer at a university close to home has a downside. Do med schools care, or would it be frowned upon? So, Scott, I want you specifically to answer this, and I'm not going to tell you what I said, but I want you specifically. Dr. Scott Wright, former director of admissions at UT Southwestern. Taking a college during the summer at a university, they specifically said university, not community college, closer to home. What are your thoughts?
So I think that's a really good question. And I think that my take on it would be optimally, I want to see all of the prereqs taken at your home institution. However, is it acceptable to do what you've described in this question, when they're home for the summer, taking organic at a university. I think it's totally acceptable, not probably optimal, but it's something that I think that a student could easily, if a question came up in an interview, for example, the student could easily say, especially with chemistry, boy, you got to keep that sequence going. And if you get behind, it just throws everything off. So, I think that I would actually prefer to see the student taking it in the summer to be able to go on in the fall and spring to the next level courses than having to wait and be off sequence completely. So I don't think it's problematic, and it's very explainable situation.
What are your thoughts on pre-health committees not quote unquote allowing that student to do that if they want a committee letter?
That's kind of cheesy to me.
Yeah, it's weird, isn't it?
Oh, look at Bradia's face. I love it.
It's so mean.
I know.
Why?
I know.
Why?
I know. It's, I think some of these committees, and I used to run a committee, and so I get it. But, they have all these rules set up because they're so concerned about having the medical schools feel like their process is legitimate. It has legitimate, outcomes, and that the med schools can trust what they say. But I think that sometimes there's these hurdles set up in the committee process that are just stupid. So,
okay, good. All right, we're aligned. Figured we would be, but just wanted to confirm.
I'm curious to hear your thoughts, though, Ryan, regarding taking it in the summer.
Well, I think in my mind, taking it in the summer, big picture, not an issue, right? Take the class, do well. Yep. There's a potential issue. We've talked about this before. Is there a pattern of running away from your main institution because you feel like their classes are hard and you go and take them at other institutions? That's a bigger problem than I was home for the summer and it was just easier. I got to go home. I didn't have to spend money being away or spending money on rent or whatever.
Right.
And so I got to take it at my local university and me in general, I think local community college as well. Again, acceptable, not optimal, but hey, whatever. Yeah. My big beef, as I've never been too shy to talk about, is with committees holding students hostage. Saying you have to follow all of my directions or else I'm not going to give you a committee letter. And it's a power play in my mind of I hold all the power. You must do everything I say or else you're not going to get into med school because you're not going to get a letter from me. And that's what med schools want. And I don't like it. I think there's a huge amount of bias because the advisor potentially wants, it's obviously not going into their pocket, but the tuition to go to their school versus another school. There's this kind of old thinking that only our institution has the brightest person in that field to teach this subject, when information is a commodity nowadays, right? You don't have to go to Harvard to get the best knowledge. We have textbooks, we have the internet, we have everything we need to be able to get the same instruction anywhere. Now it's that interaction and how a person teaches and everything else that potentially makes a difference. So there's still this old school thinking of, oh, if you go to that school, their professors aren't as good as our professors. And so I'm not going to be able to trust that your A in that class is going to be as good as an A in our class. And then lots of other issues around disadvantaged students who has money to spend at a community college versus not. And that's just bigger picture issues that I see in the whole committee process.
Right. So just to make sure, Ryan, you don't like this.
Correct.
Okay. Just want to make sure you're a little ambiguous there. A little ambiguity there. I just want to clarify.
Yeah. So, and right, we have to asterisk everything we say that there may be a med school out there that's like, oh, we really want you to take all of your prereqs at the same school, and you can't do anything about that. But we tend to talk big picture. A far majority of schools out there and the fringe schools that kind of go against what we say, which is the best thing, we ignore them.
There you go.
All right. is having been stationed somewhere in the military considered what's that last word? I can't see it.
Strong
Strong
ties.
ties. There you go. Strong ties. So Dakota. So let's say Dakota is stationed in North Dakota, and they want to go to med school in North Dakota. Is there a med school in North Dakota or just South Dakota? I always forget.
I don't think there's one in North Dakota.
I think there's one in South Dakota. So let's say they're Dakota stationed in South Dakota, but she's a resident of, or he's a resident of Florida. South Dakota's med school is a public university. Is that strong ties? What do you think, Vernia?
I don't know, honestly, with the military. I don't, haven't had that much experience with students in the military. I would think so, though. You're working there, right? You're part of that community. Now, well, I'm assuming this person is in the military, but were they maybe the relative of a military, someone that's stationed there? I don't know.
Yeah, let's assume they're active.
They're active, yeah. So, I mean, I would think so. You're working in that community, like I said. Mm-hmm. You're engaged there for however long you're stationed there for. So, yeah.
Yeah. We have this, excuse me, we have this kind of arbitrary strong ties statement that we give, right? Of like, what does that really mean? And is there a definition, or is it just like this vague thing that we talk about? And I think we talk about it, but then students, of course, always want like definitive, right? Very similar to, well, is it clinical? Is it not clinical? Right, I don't know. Right. And so we get this question a lot about strong ties of like, well, I go there on summer vacations every year, or I live there for 1 year, or I was born there, but we moved when I was 2, or I graduated high school there. And the answer is, it really just depends on the school. Right? There are some states where if you graduated high school from that state, they will consider you in state, no matter what. And just random stuff like that. And it's just going to depend. So I think the better question is, do you want to go to medical school in that state where you were stationed and worked for a little while? If you do, then apply and explain to them why you want to go to their school. And don't worry about, is it strong? Is it not strong? Is it strong enough? And just apply.
Yeah. Agreed.
Yeah. Agreed. It's putting cart before the horse to do it the other way.
Yeah.
All right. Okay. Quick comment.
Got the A, and I have been watching all your videos. Thanks for all your
woohoo, Frankie. That's awesome.
So the A is acceptance. That's kind of Reddit terminology.
Yeah.
A for acceptance. That's awesome. Good job, Frank.
That is awesome, Frank. Congratulations.
Love to see it.
If we had like confetti that was coming down, that'd be cool.
Here.
Woohoo! That's awesome.
Okay.
All right.
See.
Magnolia asks, UT Tyler Med School will start taking applicants in 2022. Is there anything to keep in mind when applying to a brand new medical school? Our friend McKenna asking about UT Tyler. So I don't know if this is official yet. I asked Enrique recently. I sent him a text, and it's still out in the abyss.
No, the legislature approved it.
Well, LCME still has to.
Oh, right.
No, but prelim accreditation.
But the legislature doles out the money. See,
correct.
And so,
it's
once the legislature does that, I think the LCME it's a lot of hoops to jump through. It's a lot of hoops to jump through. But the UT system has a good track record with this. We've had 2 new UT schools in the past 8 years or so, and so I suspect that UT Tyler will be able to handle everything and pull through with
awesome
flying colors. In my mind, what you need to keep in mind with a brand new med school is some students like the idea of being on the forefront of being able to establish and sort of set the character of a school. and have input into the curriculum and how things are going to work and traditions, and all that stuff. And other students don't want to be guinea pigs. And so I think it just depends on you as a student, what your mindset is and what you really feel like will be good for you. And I would say, as with all Texas residents, I always encourage Texas residents to apply to every school in Texas, every school on the Texas app, and then see what happens, and go and interview there, or whether it's virtual or in person, and see what you think. And if it's something that you really liked what you saw and all that, then awesome. And if it kind of you were just really unsure because there was just not much there or whatever, then maybe that's not the right school for you.
Yeah. I think a lot of people are a little misinformed or just unaware of what it means to actually be a new medical school, and who is running the school, who are the faculty there. And I think there should be some assurances that the school doesn't just kind of grow out of the ground and all of these new buds are faculty there and just show up one day and go, okay, I guess I'm running a medical school now. And these are people typically handpicked from other institutions where they have shown that they are leaders among their peers, and they are told or asked, right? We are starting a new med school here in Tyler. You have shown amazing leadership at the medical school that you're at now. Can you do that for us? And so these are people that have shown capability to do what needs to be done, which is why they get their prelim accreditation from LCME, which leads to their full accreditation once that full med school graduates, the first med school graduates.
Right.
And so I think there should be less fear, less anxiety around being a guinea pig, because these people know what to do. This is not like the first time a med school has opened up. We know what to do. We are coming from other institutions to build something similar and better than where we came from. So,
and in the case of UT Tyler, the UT Tyler Health Sciences Center has been there for decades. They have residency programs there, so they're not starting from scratch. They're what they're starting from. They're starting the undergraduate medical education, but they've had graduate medical education for a number, like I said, decades. And so they also have rotations there for undergraduate medical students. So they've got a head start in terms of the process over starting from scratch. And so I feel quite confident that they're going to be fine.
Yep. Yeah, and I think we again look at the track record. We've had a lot of new schools open up in the last decade, and all of them are doing just fine, right? No school goes, uh-oh, we're not prepared for this, and then they shut down 2 years in.
Right.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Well, and I will say, I don't think McKenna's question implied caution, right?
Right.
Now, part of it is that I talked to McKenna outside of these things, and I know she's excited to apply to UT Tyler, right? So I'm not just guessing.
Right.
So the question is there anything to keep in mind, right? We just covered a big thing, which is, even though they're new, they're not new to the experience. They're just new to that edifice, that location. They're highly qualified.
Right.
Do we think there's anything else students should keep in mind when applying to a brand new school? Like, for example, one thing I feel like I've heard about other students at new schools is one big pro is you have a chance to kind of impact how the culture unfolds. One potential con, depending on your personality, is there could be a little more stuff in flux.
Yep.
That's true. To me, that's always exciting, right? I like to go places that are still making decisions and be a part of those decisions.
Absolutely. And that's why I was really emphasizing it depends on your own perspective on those things. And if you're somebody who likes the idea of being in on the ground floor of something and really helping to set the tone and all that stuff, then this would be an awesome opportunity.
Yeah. Cool. All right. We got so many questions today.
I'm going to Tyler for Thanksgiving, in fact. So I'll be there.
Nice.
Let's see. We're definitely not going to get to everybody today.
We got a lot of questions today.
It's great. Thrilled.
Right.
Here, let's do that.
If a pharmacist decided today he wanted to go to medical school, what are the first steps he should take? Ooh, Brittany, what do you think?
I'm trying to think. First steps. Take a look, obviously, at your classes. Take a look at everything you've taken. Take a look at your transcripts. See where you are as far as the requirements. If you need anything with pharmacy, I'm not sure. Sorry, I just read the banner. Thanks. With pharmacy, I don't know what your undergraduate major was. If it included, all of the necessary prereqs. So you want to make sure you have that to start with. And then, then you start to plan out your journey into prepping for the MCAT, taking a look and seeing if you need to add in more clinical experience since your pharmacy experience is probably not sufficient. But I would start definitely by looking back and making sure that you've taken all the necessary prereqs.
Yep.
That's just step one.
I agree with that. I would chime in a little bit more on the clinical, which is if you're a pharmacist, so you're a career changer and you're probably making pretty good money because that's what career changers do. I would suggest that even if you do need to take some additional prereqs, it probably won't be many because pre-pharm and pre-med are pretty similar, that looking at starting clinical sooner than later. So it's additional part-time clinical work or volunteer clinical work. Get yourself into a position. I mean, you are doing some clinical work now, right? You're probably counseling patients a lot. But if you can get yourself in something where you're doing something more oriented to the track of a physician, just make sure you really love it before you upheave your life. So that's what I would also suggest.
Yeah, and the other thing I would say is don't go into it thinking you're going to get any credit in medical school for your pharmacy education. I've had so many students over the years who were chiropractors or who were podiatrists or some other healthcare professional, and they come into the process and say, what, can I skip the first year or can I get credit for having this, that, or the other thing? And the answer is almost exclusively no. You're not going to be able to do that.
I didn't remember that I still had the Verinia banner up. Sorry. You can also be the queen of the universe, Scott. There we go. Okay.
I like that one.
Oh, you are so
I made my own banner. Thank you very much.
That's good.
All right.
Oracle of admission.
Michael.
Yeah, there you go. Oracle. I like
the Oracle.
The spoon was already bent, right? You didn't. Isn't that in the Matrix? So you didn't bend the spoon, the wheel was bent around it. Or,
yes. The truth is, there is no spoon.
There is none.
Oh, that's right.
Yes. What will really make you mad is if I didn't say anything about the vase at all.
Right.
I can't wait for the new one coming out soon.
Oh, so excited.
Anyway, all
right. Another quick happy.
Nicholas, hello everyone. No questions here to say. I got an acceptance last Friday. Love you guys. Good job, Nicholas.
Woo-hoo. Yeah, love it.
Awesome.
Love it.
Loving that.
We need to do, although I don't really like him as a person.
Love it.
Not Nicholas.
Not Nicholas. No. What's his name? Dave Ramsey. He has the debt-free scream. I would love to at some point do an acceptance type scream. I got into med school.
Yeah.
It'd be fun.
We can, hit a gong or something.
Yeah, there you go.
All right.
Bell. Don't they have some place, some restaurants where if you order a certain dish, you get to ring a bell or something? Yeah.
Ringing a bell is that's their tradition on cancer wards.
For cancer.
When you're cancer free, you go home and you ring the bell.
Or if you finish that 32-ounce steak.
Yeah. Which will lead to cancer later on.
Yeah, right.
I ate 4 pounds of a cow.
There you go.
What'd you do? Why did you turn
I
into a
overcame an
redneck?
uncontrollable
I
growth in
know,
my
right?
body.
Why is it that every time that happens, it's a Southern accent that comes out,
Oh, yeah. Call me out on those biases, man. You are
right?
right. Thank you. That was totally unfair of me. I
No.
appreciate the friend to friend call out. Okay, so Nicholas just told us about starting one new stage of his journey. Let's talk about Nikki's journey.
Nikki, 35-year-old mom of 2 boys, started my pre-med journey in 2015, but dropped out of college. I start community college in winter and will transfer out to a 4-year institution. Am I too old or crazy? Why isn't it am I too old and crazy? Does it have to be or? No, just
Right.
kidding. Just kidding. No.
Yeah, you're not too old,
No.
and you're not crazy.
The biggest fear that I have is living with a regret. And
Absolutely.
if when you're 50 years old, you're going to be 50 years old. You're either going to be a doctor or you're not going to be a doctor. Which one will make you happy? Yeah, it's going to be a lot of work, and your family's going to have to sacrifice a little bit, and you're going to need some support from family and significant others and friends throughout this process. And the season that you are entering of your life right now, where you're going back to school, when you go to medical school, when you're in residency, that will be a very busy season for you. But people are doing it every day, every year right now.
Yep.
So you can do it too.
You can.
With kids.
With kids.
Yeah, that's
Absolutely.
what I mean. People are doing it right now.
I say, Nikki, you go for it. And you're not crazy. You're not too old. And I totally agree with what Ryan said. I think, the bigger issue is regret. And if you don't want to look back 10 or 20 or 30 years down the road and think, what if, then you at least got to try.
Yeah, there you go.
100% agree with everything everyone said. I will add 2 things. So one is your boys are going to grow up into men who understand that you as a mother are more than being a mother, and that you invest in yourself.
Yep.
And that's a wonderful thing. Also, we need doctors who reflect our entire country's population. And, single income, one person stays at home, everything's easy. Families are a small percentage. I mean, no one really has it easy. Even rich people have challenges. It's hard to believe, right? But do the hard thing. Your patients will love you. You will get them because you'll have also done hard things.
Yep.
Yeah.
I love it, Nikki. Good luck. Keep let us know how things are going.
Yep.
Yeah.
Be great to hear from you.
Yeah. Keep in touch over the years. Yeah.
We need that. I don't know if it's from what movie it was from, Waterboy or something, where the guys in the crowd going, "You can do it."
Can we get that soundbite?
I need that. I'll get that.
Right.
Oh, what's his name? Schneider? Rob Schneider? I
Schneider.
think Schneider. Rob Schneider. Yeah.
Schneider Rooney.
You can do it.
All right. Oh, let's do an academic dishonesty one.
Hi, I'm a new grad respiratory therapist, but during my freshman year 4 years ago, I got an academic dishonesty institutional action in physics where I got an F and retook it and got an A. How do I redeem myself? Verinia, what do you think?
You pray to the oracle.
The oracle of admission.
I think that you seem to have redeemed yourself along the way, whether you believe that or not, right? You've sort of made it to grad school. You're a respiratory therapist. So somewhere along the way, this experience, this IA didn't just completely throw you off track. I think what you need to do though is, when the time comes, just explain it honestly, say what you learned from it, what you did, what happened, what you learned from it, and how you moved on from it. And obviously you moved on from it, right? You retook it, you got an A. So to me, in a way, you've already redeemed yourself. It's just now if you had to explain it, you would just openly and honestly explain what happened and, what you learned from it and how you did to improve, or what you did to improve.
Yeah, absolutely. And, Daniel, I would further say that, we talk about this sometimes, is that timing is everything. And All right, it's a lot. And so the fact that this happened in your freshman year is it says a lot. In ostensibly you've learned a lot since then. And so in the section of the application where you include information about the IA, you're going to talk about, this is what happened, and this is what I've learned out of that experience, and why I'm a better, more, better person now because of having gone through this or whatever. And so I completely agree with what Verinia said. How do I redeem myself? It sounds to me like you've already done that, and that you have already moved past that, etc. So good for you. Just keep up the good work. I think in a separate question, Daniel gives us a little bit more information, has good academic record, and strong MCAT score. And so just move on, Daniel. Don't let this weigh you down.
Yep.
As the great Rob Schneider says, "You can do it. You can do it. You can do it." Little compilation there.
You're amazing.
All right. Oh, good one from Carolyn. Planning ahead for the letters of rec.
Carolyn asks, the physician whom I have asked for a letter of recommendation asked me to write down a list of all the things I do. Should I highlight clinical, leadership, or how I progress in the company? Tech, supervisor, manager. Awesome. So this is very common, right? You ask for a letter of recommendation and they go, give me a resume, right? Give me a CV. That's probably all they want, but there's probably no rules here for this. This is big picture for Mapped, right? We envision Mapped to be your letter of recommendation portal in the future, to replace other services that are out there, because with the other services you don't have all the information that you've already put into Mapped, like everything you're doing activity wise, your grades, etc. So that inside of Maps, you go and request a letter of recommendation from someone, and they'll have access to all of the stuff you've put in. They can see your GPA, they can see your trends, they can see your activities, and obviously we'll figure out, like, if you don't want to share that stuff, we'll hide that stuff. But it'll be a great thing for Mapped users in the future, probably next year at some point. But yeah, probably just a resume.
Yeah, I agree with that, and I think for any student, going into I think the best way to approach letter of recommendation writers, people that you want to get a letter from, give them an updated resume with, everything that you've done, whatever, just like you were applying for a job. Have a nice resume available to them, and then give them a copy of your personal statement. And because that's going to fill in a lot of the spaces too, in terms of what you're doing and why, and all of that stuff. If you've got your personal statement ready for them, for them to look at, give them those two documents, email it to them or whatever, and that gives them a lot of information to go on.
Yep.
Agreed. You want to make it as easy on the letter of rec writer as possible.
Yeah.
And
I was just going to say, as a kind of a follow-up, a very common thing that people try to do as well is they look at the AAMC core competencies and try to highlight some specifics around core competencies as well.
Right. Which doesn't mean listing all 12.
Correct.
Right. I think, I can't remember who it was. Someone at a webinar I went to last year, another pre-health advisor, talked about thinking about your letter of recommendation team as like, this is a cadre of people who are going to represent all your assets, all your strengths, right? So if you've really shined in a particular competency with this physician, there's no shame in saying, like, could you comment on my perseverance? Could you comment on my emotional maturity? Could you comment on my teamwork? Like, whatever the thing is.
Yep.
If they've got doubts about that, then you don't probably have the right letter of rec writer anyway. So if you say that might be like, oh yeah, now I understand what you want. Great.
Yeah.
That's the reaction you're looking for.
Yep. I'm going to pull up a question here because this is very common this time of year. I've been accepted to one of my top choices, Congrats. I have also been invited to interviews for other schools. I'm considering canceling those to open up spots for other students. Is this the right choice? Rance, congrats on getting in to one of your top choices. That's awesome. My typical recommendation this time of year is if you've gotten into, and this is very similar, Scott, to like Texas's rank system. If you've gotten into your number 3 school and you've interviewed at your 1 and 2 school and every other interview coming in is below number 3, then cancel them.
Yeah.
Right. What's the reason of going? Now, if you're not sure your number 3 is your number 3 and you still have more questions, then sure, go to the interviews, ask questions. Unfortunately, we're still in a situation where you don't get to go to the campus and explore and see culture and kind of the vibe in person. But if all of the interviews coming in are in your mind below the acceptance you already have, cancel them. The schools aren't going to take it personally. Say thank you, but no thank you. And as you mentioned, it's opening up those spots for other students.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well,
That's
and congrats,
high
Rance.
integrity thinking there, Rance.
Yeah. Good on you for doing
that's
that.
Awesome.
For thinking
Good for
that.
you. Good for you.
All right. So kind of on a similar thread then.
All right. Kiana asks, I received secondary application, but I said not to apply for that specific school due to financial and academic stats. How should I respond to that school? So you just don't send the secondary, right? There's no, it's, I think, a good question because there's like, well, what's proper and what is kind of good manners around this. Schools, it's very expected that students get a little click happy when they're adding schools to their primary application and then just get super busy, run out of money, whatever, for secondary applications and just don't submit them. So the school's not going to care. They're not going to mark your application or your file for next year when you potentially reapply. Hopefully you don't have to, and go, oh, this person didn't send us a secondary last year. And they're not going to hold that against you.
No. So not to worry, Kiana.
All right. One more kind of in this theme of if you're in the current cycle and you're thinking about communicating with schools.
Yeah. All right. So Bella asks, how can we show the schools that we are interested in attending besides update letters? Also, what is the best way to find out about their events? The dreaded update letters. Hello, school. I am interested. Herenia, what do you think?
Well, first, make sure that update letters are okay. Some schools don't really appreciate that. And really only update them if you have something to update. It's not a letter of intent. It's not, an update letter is just for that. This is what I've done since I applied. I don't, beyond that, I think, you don't want to hound them, right? You don't want to say, hey, I'm still here. I'm really interested in you. They know
do that.
They do. They have your application. And unfortunately, it's just a matter of, you've done what you can at this point. If you have something to update them with, then by all means. But beyond that, I would, you're just going to have to wait. As to the second part of their question about the events, I guess just checking their websites, right?
Yeah, and I think the admissions office often will notify you of those things, particular events or whatever. So
yeah. And I wanted to dig into kind of one more thing here. So how can we show the school we're interested in attending besides update letters? So that seems to assume, and Bella, I don't know what you were thinking, but it kind of, that question implies that you're meant to convey that. Applying conveys that, and also they know that's not why you didn't hear from them. And I don't mean that as like a personal thing to you, but there's so many thousands of applicants. They're not going, well, we'll ignore that one. They don't seem that into it. Right? Like they're working through the interview slots. They're doing batches of interviews at a time. You know, people still do interviews November, December, January, February, even March. But this is maybe making it sort of sound flippant, but if someone asked you out and you said, I don't know, I'll think about it, and then they called you 4 more times, right? You probably just think they were creepy. You're not going to be like, well, now that I know this person's semi-stalker, I'm super into them. Like that's just not like I know it's really hard, but you just gotta wait.
Right. Yeah.
You know, like pick up knitting.
Yeah, that's a great analogy.
Pick up knitting, go for a run, watch Netflix. You know my favorite thing to recommend. Do some yoga. You know, like you just gotta wait. It's a hard time of year. And a lot of people are going, but I didn't get an interview yet. What's wrong? Nothing. I mean, it stinks, but you just are still waiting.
Yep.
All right. 154. We got time for one more.
Yeah.
Let's see.
Can a Canadian student apply to U.S. medical schools or PA schools? How hard could that be? If I completed my bachelor degree in Canada, would you guys recommend me doing a postbac program in the U.S.? Yes, Canadians can apply to U.S. schools. It depends on the school. Some schools consider Canadian students international applicants. Some schools consider Canadian applicants non-resident applicants, meaning non-state resident applicants, meaning you're an out-of-state applicant, but not an international applicant. So you're a little bit higher up on the list. So do some Googling. I know there's some lists out there of Canadian-friendly med schools, and just find the ones that you want to apply to and apply. There are some differences, right? A lot of Canadian applicants have less clinical experience, have less shadowing, depending on what province you're in. But yes, you can definitely apply.
Yeah, absolutely. And I don't, depending on your degree program, your bachelor's degree, and how you did in your bachelor's degree program would dictate whether or not you need to do a postbac. But just because you're a Canadian, I don't think warrants you doing a postbac program.
No.
Yeah, the general rule of thumb that we give about like most medical schools want to have like 90 hours of U.S. credits. That Canada typically isn't included in that list. The Canadian and U.S. education systems are so similar that med schools consider your degree to be equivalent-ish to a U.S. degree, and you don't need to do U.S. credits.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
So you're friendly. I want to throw this one up here as a follow-up to McKenna's question earlier. Brand new med schools qualifying for financial aid. Now, I think I've heard this kind of through the grapevines. I'm not sure what the official stance is, and I think potentially that's why a lot of new medical schools typically offer free tuition for students, but I'm not sure. Scott, do you know?
I have never heard that before, so my suspicion is that that's not accurate.
Okay.
I think as long as you're in as long as you are in an accredited program, you're going to be eligible for, federally subsidized loans and stuff like that. So I do not think that would surprise me if that's accurate.
Yeah. And you said accredited, and this is the word that always throws people off. Right. This is very similar to here in the pandemic, right? These vaccines had emergency use authorization, not full authorization. Prelim accreditation is accreditation.
Yeah.
It's just the process that schools have to go through, that the accrediting bodies have to go through. And schools cannot get full accreditation until that first class graduates. So even though it's a prelim accreditation, it's still accreditation.
Yep. It still counts toward getting, all the benefits and stuff like that, such as, veterans benefits or, GI Bill things and stuff like that. You're going to qualify for all of that.
Yeah. Awesome.
Yeah, those are a lot of good questions.
Another Ask the Dean in the books. Was there trying to think here? Never mind.
Okay,
Thank
now
you,
we're
everyone.
intrigued. Now you
right.
can't
It's
just
all right.
drop
Let
it at that.
Let it go. Thank you, everyone.
Yeah.
Thank
If you didn't get your question answered today, we're back same time, same place next week. So map.pv plus several other channels, Wednesdays at 1 p.m. Eastern. And then are you doing an Instagram Live this Friday? Ryan? Maybe.
I think so.
Most Friday. Every Wednesday, we do Ask the Dean at 1 p.m. Eastern. And most Fridays on Instagram Live at Med School HQ, you can catch Ryan for more Q&A.
Yep. That's the plan. Everyone have a wonderful day. Thanks for coming.
All right. Bye.
Bye.